Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the MD Investor Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Butler, and today I want to get into talking about hyper focused money, or basically hyper focus. So let's get into it. Let's get started and let's talk about what it takes to be focused. All right. So, what I want to talk about is being hyper focused. So, when it comes to investing and it just comes to life in general, the idea is that there's a lot of things happening that are distracting us from being our best selves or from being able to have the best outcome possible. And that happens when there's so many other things in life that are distracting us from the true goal and the true intention. So, in this case, being hyper focused is something that's extremely important. Now, a lot of times on social media, on all these guru talks and stuff like that, you'll see people talking about multiple streams of income, investing in this, investing in that. Now, this is something that I also talk about and discuss. However, the true importance first is being hyper focused on one task. Until you do that task extremely successfully, you shouldn't be jumping around to other tasks. It gets extremely difficult, it gets extremely daunting because there's so many distractions in life and there's so many things that are becking at us from all kinds of different variations of stuff. So what I mean by that is just like there's just so much happening in the world. You got social media, you got different apps, people on Facebook, you see the news, and everything looks glamorous. And that's just not what real life is. Like everyone makes their life seem like it's just the most glamorous life on the planet. Like every single time you turn on social media, like someone's on vacation every other week, or they're like first they're in Hawaii and they're in Tulum and then they're whatever it is, or I'm in Spain. Like I travel for a living. So sometimes there's like people who actually do that, but at the same time, most of social media makes it look like they're hyper wealthy or hyper glamorous or hyper this, hyper that. So then the thing is, what are you supposed to focus on? How do you actually become wealthy? How do you actually become successful? And how do you actually build happiness when you're so distracted by so many things in life? Like if you hop on social media and you see all these people talking about all these different things, so you might have like you know what I'm talking about. Like, you'll see the clips over and over again of all these different people saying, oh, you want to be super successful, you want to do this, you just need to focus on, and they'll tell you like 10 or 12 different things. You just need to be extremely fit and extremely healthy and extremely happy and extremely wealthy and extremely this and extremely that. Like, you have to be everything. And being everything is very difficult. And a lot of times people want to talk about being balanced, and balance is also hard because balance means that you can teeter everything equally. And that's not always going to be the case. There's going to be some times where you're extremely focused on your work or your job, and that leaves less time for family, it leaves less time for sleep, it leaves less time for vacation and less time for activities. And there's going to be times where you're resting, right? And then when you're actually on vacation, you're not going to be hyper balanced with your work or balanced with your, like you see what I'm saying? So there's always going to be something that's pulling you in one direction or the other, which means that the idea of life being super balanced is going to be a facade. The idea of being able to do everything with 100% of your energy is also going to be a facade. It's not true. However, the way that the world rotates, the way our seasons rotate, and the way that we focus as people, you have to be hyper focused on your initial goal and then move to the next step. The same thing with your investments. So if you're trying to invest and you're really trying to build, be hyper focused on one thing first. Be really successful at that one thing and then move to the next area. So you can pick multiple areas in your life where you want to be hyper focused. For example, it's easier to say, like you guys always wonder, like, oh, how does a boxer cut weight for a fight? Because they're hyper focused on that task at hand before moving on. So, like, let's say you're a boxer and you're like, I'm currently 140 and you want to get down to 120 in order to make weight for your fight. That is all you're going to concentrate on. At this point in time, you're not like concentrating on anything else. You're focused on the fight. You're focused on making the weight. You're focused on making sure you're eating properly. You're working out. You're running. You're doing everything in your power to make sure that this gets done and it gets done right. That's what it takes. And that's what I mean when I'm saying hyper focus. Hyper concentrate on one thing and be very successful at that thing until you move to the next task. That way you can actually guarantee that your mind has something to focus on and has success. There are a lot of people who are like, I've tried every diet, but did you hyper focus on one thing until you were successful? Because if you didn't hyper focus on that one thing until you were successful, then you're just kind of like halfway doing a bunch of stuff. And that's not our goal. Our goal is not to halfway do a bunch of stuff. Our goal is to be hyper focused and be successful in one thing. So even when it comes to investing, there are a lot of things to invest in. And I know because I've made this mistake as well. I've invested in almost everything you can think of because I didn't know what was going to work. I'm not going to say, oh, I know the future and I know everything, because that's not true. No one knows everything. No one knows what exactly is going to work, what's not going to work. So I had to hyper focus things. Initially, I didn't. Initially, I wasn't hyper focused. Initially, I just started guessing at everything to invest in. I'm like, hey, what works the best? Is it vending machines? Is it rental cars? Is it trucks? Is it real estate? Is it e-commerce? Is it like anything you can think of? Is it like wholesale flipping? Is it this? Is it that? Whatever you can think of and whatever type of investment it took, I started investing in literally everything. That was a mistake because sometimes you spread yourself super, super thin, and it's hard to give yourself 100% focus to whatever you're doing when you're spread all over the place. And it's hard to be consistent because you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to be extremely tired, and it's going to be hard financially from a cash flow standpoint because sometimes things don't flow the way you think. You might hear from real estate, oh, I just burr all these houses and this and this and this. But burring takes time. Like doing the burr method or doing a rehab on a property takes time. Sometimes a project might take 2 months. If I'm actually rehabbing the project, if I'm just wholesaling a project, maybe it takes a week. Everything is different. If the market is changing and things are moving slower, maybe that property that I planned on selling in 1 month takes 3 months, which means the cash flow for that property is going to be different. If the full rehab, maybe I had to get approved permits from contractors and things like that. So something I would expect to take a month or two takes 3 months or 6 months, plus the time it takes to sell it. So it means there's going to be cash flow issues. There's going to be a lot of different things. And if you're spread super thin, it's going to be hard to focus. It's going to be hard to be able to move forward and build within that state. So in this case, the whole point of talking on this podcast today is to let you know that being hyper focused is extremely important because it's going to streamline your success. It's going to help you to build on what you know and then concentrate on that aspect. And once you get really good at something, then you can expand to the next something and then to the next something. But initially what you want to do is be really, really good at one thing. So in this case, if we're teaching multiple streams of income, I'm not telling people to go out and make sure you get 6 businesses because that's going to be extremely daunting. It's going to be hard to balance all of these things. Some of them may fail. Some of them will do great. Some of them will do just okay. But we're not in this space to just do okay, right? You only live one life. There's no reason to just be okay. Most of the times when you think about competition or sports and stuff like that, there are some people who play sports and they're just satisfied with being on the bench. I'm not that type of person. And if you're not that type of person either, if you want to be in the game and you want to get a ring, you have to be hyper focused in order to get the championship ring. So if you're very passionate or interested in a particular field, then focus on that field, but have a logic and a reason behind it. So for example, like I have a trucking company, but I am not hyper enthusiastic about trucks. So in this case, it makes it hard for me to try to put all of my passion into trucks when I'm not very passionate about trucks. Like it's there, it operates, it's functional, and it's good. But at the same time, I had to have someone else take over that space. Even the same thing with cars. Like I don't absolutely love cars with all of my heart. They're cool, they're flashy and stuff like that. But even with car rentals and transportations, I don't run that aspect of my business either. There's someone else who is in charge because they're hyper excited about it and they're extremely focused about it. So that way my focus can be on what I love the most. So if I love studying charts and I love getting down into research and then digging into stocks and things like that, that's where my focus is going to be. So even though we're creating multiple streams of income and even though we're creating spaces where money can be made in all these different aspects, you're going to have a team or different people be in charge of these spaces when you're ready to expand. But first, I highly recommend picking one thing, being very, very good at that one thing, and then expanding from there. Because that type of expansion and that type of focus is going to allow you to be successful, have the confidence and have the comfort to build in that space comfortably and be okay in that space. So a lot of people ask me all the time, they're like, hey, Dr. Butler, I noticed that you invest in a lot of stuff. And well, what do I invest? Or how much do I invest? Or what do I invest? In this case, I can't answer all of those questions for you because it's going to depend on you. When it comes to how much to invest, that comes down to a budget. Understanding where your money is supposed to go, understanding what your money is supposed to do for you, now you have to have a budget. And once you got that budget solidified, now you know every single month what you have to put towards something. And what I recommend is hyper focusing what you're putting that money towards. So if you're really trying to build wealth and it's for generations and you need to have something long term, then hyper focus on your stock portfolio or something of that nature. Or if you're trying to build generational wealth and you want it to be done through bricks, then hyper focus putting that money towards real estate. Doesn't mean that you need to buy real estate every single month, but maybe you're putting money for a down payment or for closing costs or for whatever you're paying for in terms of like maybe you're paying for the appraisals or the paint or the rehab, whatever it might be. You might be stacking that money every single month because your budget is on point, and now you're putting that money every single month so that you can build a rehab and build a real estate portfolio that you're looking for, or you can build the stock portfolio that you're looking for. Or if you really love cars with all your heart and you want high-end luxury cars and stuff like that, now you're putting money for the purpose of maintaining and building up your car space. So now if you want to have rental cars and rental transportation or luxury transportation, then now you can focus on that space. So there's a lot of different things and there's a lot of different moving parts. But in this case, if you're distracted and you're split, then you can make a lot of mistakes. And I've made a lot of mistakes. So in this case, I talked about before in the other episode, making mistakes to millions. But that's still a good thing. That's like making the mistakes will teach you how to actually get to where you want to go. But if you have a blueprint, you have a GPS, and you have somebody who can help you to avoid some of these pitfalls and then streamline that process, that can save you years of time. So maybe it's not going to take you years to learn how to navigate the stock market. Maybe it's only going to take you a few months versus the years it would have taken you. Or if you had a goal with cars, maybe it'll only take a few months to get to what your true goal is versus it taking years because you're making all these mistakes. So that is our goal. Our goal and my personal mission is to teach as many healthcare professionals as possible learn how to invest and learn how to invest properly so that you're not wasting your time, you're not wasting your money, and you're not falling into all of these traps, especially the traps that I kept falling into as well, because I can only learn and teach you from the things that I've experienced personally. I can't teach you something I don't know, and I can't teach you something that I've never experienced. So in this case, I want to help you get onto the right track. So my best advice that I have, whether you want to take it, whether you don't want to take it, it's up to you completely. My best advice is making sure you focus on what you're passionate about and what you truly love. Because at the end of the day, everything has ups and downs. Everything has a cycle in the market. So in this case, if you love something with all of your heart, then it doesn't matter if it's up or down cycle. Just like being a fan of a football team or a basketball team, if you're like a huge fan of the Pistons or something like that, and it's a team that's never actually really done that great, or you guys win a championship like once every 20 years or something like that, if you're a diehard fan, that passion and that love for that team is what's going to motivate you when it's like, when your team is really doing bad, you're still going to be their fan, right? Versus when their team is doing great, everyone hops on the bandwagon. Everyone seems like they're fans. But that's the same with business as well, right? So when the stock market is down, are you one of the fans who are like, oh, I only liked you guys when you were winning. I'm not a fan anymore. So you hop off and you no longer into stocks and you hate crypto now and you don't want to be a part of it? Because that happens. Because when there's a down cycle, then all the fans run away. And then when there's an up cycle, everyone can't stop talking about it. So it means pick something that you're passionate about so you can hyper focus on that investment. So if you love real estate, then it doesn't matter if the market is going down or if the market's going up, because you're going to find the best deals. So when the market's going down, you know how to navigate and you know how to be prepared. So you go, oh, hey, everyone is running away. This is when I'm going to buy up all the property because I know and I'm prepared for this because this is my field. Same thing with cars, same thing with the stocks, same thing with e-commerce, just right. Like Black Friday, everyone wants to shop. Cyber Monday, everybody wants to shop. So this is like the Super Bowl of e-commerce times. But there are also going to be times where it's like you have to compete with Amazon, or you have to put up your percentages so that Amazon might do the FBA for you, or you might be working with Shopify. And there's times where you have to pay for increased costs of shipping and boxing and transportation and fuel costs going up. So there's always going to be ups and downs, and people are going to be on the bandwagon. So in this case, whenever the bandwagon is full of cheer and full of spirits, you don't have to have any emotion behind it. You're just part of the process because you know what you love and you're passionate about it. And then when everybody's hopping off the bandwagon, they're terrified and they're running away, you don't have to have emotion about it either. You're part of the process because you're passionate about it. Find something that you love, because I can't tell you what to love. I can't tell you what to do. You love what you love, and then you become hyper passionate about it, and you focus on that one thing. So once you focus on that one thing, then for sure you will know that you're on the right track. And then you just have to be consistent. And as long as you're consistent, you will continually compound and build your success. So no one can tell you exactly what wealth is, or what feels like rich, or what is rich, because some people don't know what rich is, and some people have no idea what feels like rich. So in this case, it's not like $1 more than you had yesterday doesn't make you feel like you're rich, or $100,000 more than you had 2 years ago won't make you feel like you're rich. But it's a compounding effect. And one day at a time, step by step, as long as you keep adding to it, you keep consistently growing it and building it, then you'll start realizing that your time is your own, your wealth is your own, and your freedom starts to feel like yours again. Once you have that, once you've built that, then you'll be in a place to where you can say and you can feel like, hey, I feel successful at this. I feel comfortable and confident with this. It takes time, and everybody's journey is going to be different. Everybody's process and success story will always be different. They'll have a little similarities because money leaves clues, success leaves clues, and then the people who are really believing in themselves most of the time will go broke doing it. So in this case, I've made mistakes where I've lost lots and lots of money, and a lot of people have made similar mistakes where it's like, billionaires will say, hey, it takes millions, it takes investing millions and losing millions to get to billions, and it takes hundreds of thousands to get to millions, and so on and so forth. So you'll find that when you make those mistakes, when you continue the process and you keep on building on that process, that eventually you'll get to the status to where your consistency will help you become more efficiency. So your consistency will lead to efficiency. That efficiency will lead to growth. That growth will lead to success. And it will just keep compounding for you over and over again. So whatever it is that you love, if you find out that you start having a passion for stocks and that you're very good at it, then hyper focus on stocks. If you find out that it's real estate, or it's cars, or you really love cars, or you really love shoes, it doesn't have to be what I invest in. It could be whatever you like. Maybe you like art. Maybe you want to focus on NFTs. Maybe you love crypto. Maybe you like shoes. You can be a huge sneakerhead and love selling Yeezys online for whatever. It doesn't matter. You can be someone who loves to mint coins and go through the process of finding errors and quarters and pennies and stuff like that, and selling an 82 dime for like $3,000. I've seen it done. It happens. Whatever it is you're passionate about, whatever drives you and gets your focus and gets you to your point where you feel like you can do this and do it well, find that passion, cultivate it, build it, focus your investment and your time around it, and you will be successful, and nothing will stop you or hold you back. I always want you guys to be who you want to be, to have the freedom that you want to have, and enjoy the life that you were meant to have. Again, I always say that life is short, it's finite, and we know this. If you do medicine, and we all do medicine, or if you're in the healthcare field whatsoever, you know that life is short. You see it happen. People lose their lives all the time. And the goal is to make sure that you enjoyed it, that you put in the work, that you built the legacy, and that you're passing on something that you're really proud of to the next generation. Because there's one day that I'm not going to be here. There's one day that you're not going to be here. So what you're passing on and what you're building for, make sure it's for a purpose and there's a point to it. And make sure that you enjoy the journey, because it's not all about the destination. The destination is you not being here anymore, right? That's the end game. That's the final destination. So in this case, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process, travel, enjoy life, spend on yourself, enjoy your time with your family. Don't just work for the sake of work, right? Build yourself up. Do everything you can to enjoy and have the best life possible, and pour into yourself, because it's always a learning process. I'm always going to wish you guys the best. If you guys do need help, if you need anything, feel free to head over to the mdinvestor.com. We have coaching, we have clients, whatever help you need in order to help you get from step one to step Z or step A to step one, whatever it may be. The goal is to help you get there. And that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to accomplish. I always wish you guys the same thing: health, wealth, and happiness. And I will see you guys on the next episode.